What did that one teacher at your school get fired for? In grade school, the art teacher taught art for all the grades. She was known for being harsh and critical among the students, but adults dismissed it as kids whining. Then came the time where the entire school didn't have an honor roll because she didn't award a single grade above a C. My 4th grade reading teacher murdered his wife and son and buried them in his backyard. Edit. Thanks to the person who gilded this comment. That was very generous. Did he get fired? Edit. Neat. Thanks. Yes, he did. And then jailed. He was a science teacher. One day in class he disciplined a girl who was misbehaving. She and a few friends conspired together to start rumors that he had molested them. The teacher didn't do anything and the girls came forward that they'd made it up when they realized how big of a deal it was. But he resigned anyway because mud sticks. Shame. He was a good teacher. Edit. This doesn't seem to be a unique case. The amount of "was this at school?" replies is insane. Coming in still drunk from the night before after going to a midnight premiere of Revenge of the Sith. PSHH, I don't see what the problem is. He got fired for claiming it was better than Empire. He died. I don't know why the school said they fired him. But whatever. This reminds me of a thread from several years ago about the dumbest rules in school, and someone said their school handbook said that if you committed suicide, you were expelled. Well, he was the janitor. But he got a 9th grader pregnant. Janitor got more game than me. Pedophilia. He went to jail. He was released years later. He became a teacher again. He reoffended. You can't make this it up. Edit. This was in Canada for those asking. I don't understand how he got his job again either. Well, we better test if there is actually a problem here by letting him out, rehiring him and seeing what he'll do a 3rd time. It's just science. Her son, who attended the school, put KKK propaganda in black students' lockers as a joke and was subsequently expelled. She wasn't fired. But from what I can tell, she and the school both agreed that it would be better for her to leave after that incident. My art teacher got busted with a nude painting he had done of a girl in my class. She was 18 but he still got fired. Accidentally showed porn to the class, starring himself. Were you in the class? I can't even imagine how that would happen. We had a sub in 8th grade science class. Black kid mentions that his uncle is homosexual and dead. Sub responds, well, he's in hell, because God hates gays and black people. The next day, the regular teacher said that the sub would never work at the district again. HS English teacher was fired in the middle of class and later escorted off campus the morning after students found his Twitter account. He used this account to tweet at pornsters, post nude photos of himself, threaten politicians, desire to try cocaine, and post his Amazon wish list. Coolest part was we learned his nipples were pierced from the photos, which for years was a rumor. A 2nd teacher was fired the same year over the summer for getting with a student. I was on the yearbook committee, and I had to Photoshop him out of the team photo since he was the coach. Edit. The Amazon wishlist was bad because of what he had on it, not just cause he had one. Thought that was obvious. Reaching up an 8th grader's skirt. He probably dropped his pen and it landed up her skirt. Anime logic. We had the drunk teacher. The male teacher who ducked his way through most of the single and not single female staff. The male teacher who was way II two-hand-see with the female students, and the male teacher who got into a literal fist fight with a student during gym class. None of them were ever fired. No problem with FKN around with adults. Touching students is a no-no. Forget teacher. The principal was fired for having predatory online conversation with who he thought was a young girl. Turned out it was a sting operation, and they traced his computer and he was fired a few weeks later after being put on leave. Rumor has it his wife divorced him and took their young daughter and moved far away. It's always a sting operation. No 14-year-old is trying to duck your old, fat, bald-headed ass. When I was in high school, We had this one PE teacher that was pretty much a friend to my friends and I. He would always joke about things with us like sports and stuff happening around the school. Then one day he started talking about some of the female students with us. And it got really creepy. He would go on and on about some of them and it almost sounded like he was stalking them or something. But the weirdest thing is he refused to dispel with this fiction that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. He put up a huge calendar on the wall and had seniors fill it out with their open house dates. He had different color markers for whether or not underage drinking would be allowed. He was an undercover cop. You all got played. My teacher in 5th grade was notoriously mean. Got fired for slapping a kid. Earlier that year. She told me I'm so stupid that I'll get hit by a car. Edit, yes. I did get hit by a car after that, but I don't see what that has to do with anything. Getting angry at a student with a limp for not walking fast enough. When the student tried to explain the limp, she persisted that the limp was all in the student's head and was faking it to spite her. That teacher was a witch the whole year, checking the pencil cases of only the brown kids during exams. Mark guys worse than girls because all of the guys are lazy. Had one student who got straight 100s whole, nobody else could get anything above 90. Encouraging students to run across the street after the lights had stopped counting down. Etc. But this was the last straw for her. For beating me until I couldn't hold a pen or pencil in my hands. The headmistress was fired too for over-the-top corporal punishment. Holding up a paperclip and saying I bet Gabby couldn't get this at her. Also, and we weren't sure it was coincidental or not, but he had done up a word puzzle in class and handed it out. One of those where you have to find the words, but at the end of the discovered words were H, old 8 and me. He ended up being a taxi driver. Strangely enough though, the PE teacher that used to watch girls get changed was never fired or got in trouble. I did hear years down the track he got an ex-student pregnant. Not a teacher. But the cop that worked at our school got with a student. Got her pregnant. Soon divorced his wife after. He is now selling cigarettes for a living. Cocaine. Child porn. And prostitution. 3 separate teachers within 4 years of each other. Sad thing is, I went to a very small school with my graduating class of 63 people. It's not like we had hundreds of teachers in our district. Jesus, I imagine the PTA meetings were quite eventful. There was this fat girl whose last name was McDonald. She walks in one day and he is like, "Aye, what up, Big Mac?" It's important to know that he's a tall, pasty white Mormon guy from Wisconsin. Biggest joker in the school. She got offended and told admin, and they didn't really have a choice. Everyone hated that girl from then on because he was everyone's favorite teacher. He taught 8th grade Spanish and people in 5th grade were excited to enter middle school because they would have him in 3 years. He was a living legend at that school. The girl left once that school year ended because she had no friends. As for the teacher, he got a job at another school and everyone still loves him. It was his first year at our school. And he was a dickbag. For one. Emma. Bag constantly talked about much better his daughter's high school was and how if our parents cared about us they would send us there. He really wanted to work at her school. So he didn't care about ours or his job. A student's parents called Emma. Bag to complain about some grading issue. And the next day, Emma. Bag called that student out by name to the whole class and talked about how his parents are whiny and annoying to complain about such a trivial issue. So, some friends and I went to the principal to talk about what happened. I guess Emma. Bag heard about this and a few days later he raged at our class. Screaming. Yelling. Throwing things at us. He got dragged out by police that day. Spelling fixed. A teacher went to a store with a student to get razor blades for them to do coke together. Instead of paying for them they tried to steal them. Got caught and the police found a bunch of coke on them. The student happened to be the son of the chief of police and received no punishment. The teacher of course was fired. We had a language arts teacher in 8th grade hold up a small American flag and say something along the lines of "This represents freedom." Then she pulled out a lighter and said something like, "So does this." To this day I don't know if she was fired for flag burning or for starting a fire indoors. Stabbed himself in the bathroom and blamed it on a student. He probably should have waited until the student wasn't sitting in another class and could easily be exonerated. While the H1N1 virus was spreading, one of our teachers decided to show his 5th grade class a video about the virus. But it turned out that he taped the video over a gay porn movie. And for a whole 20 or so seconds, before he could turn it off, a whole class of 5th graders were shown graphic gay porn. He never came back to our school, but was moved to one not too far from ours soon thereafter. We had a substitute that had sex with one of the kids. He took a video and it got around quick. She looked talented. Must have had a good teacher. In high school we had a teacher who was fresh out of college. He was chill. End of the school year. We have a field day. Said teacher hangs out on the roof with a few of the seniors. They all got high together and the teacher and one of the students end up ducking. That teacher wasn't welcomed back the following year. Side note, last year I saw him on Tinder. Swiped right as a joke. And it ended up being an instant match. She stabbed someone. From what I remember, she was at a friend's house when the friend's abusive husband came home. And she stabbed the husband in self-defense. Still, the school didn't want a math teacher with a criminal record. Told a girl in our class to button up her shirt because he was getting hard. We were shocked when those words came out. Didn't see for the remainder of high school. I had a teacher get fired from my middle school when I was in 8th grade. And then he got a job at my high school and was fired my senior year. When I was in 8th grade he taught Spanish. And got fired for telling a girl that if she ate mangoes it would give her breast cancer. Giving another girl, who must have been about 11, roses on her birthday. And giving her a kiss on the cheek. And showing the class Supersize Me because somebody mentioned offhand that he liked McDonald's. As well as a few other things. Fast forward my senior year of high school. He comes in as a substitute teacher for my physics class. All he was supposed to do was give out a worksheet. And then make sure we worked on it. He didn't even mention the worksheet. And instead all he did was give a lecture about how 9/11 was an inside job because jet fuel can't melt steel beams. And how Ebola was population control and how the government was out to get us. Edit. Some people are accusing this of being fake. I know it's ridiculous but it's honestly true. The reason he could get a job at my high school after losing his job at my middle school is because I went to a private middle school. He sexted and had sex with a 13-year-old. Which is statutory. He had a wife and a newborn.